when I talk to people. So we have a module that kind of debunks some of the things that are out there about hospice care. So kind of all the basics that you would need. And then, like, if you all decided you wanted to be a part of that, then St. David's could decide how you want to form your pastoral care teams. And we're happy to share some best practices of other churches. So for example, St. Michael's Barrington, the way they've done it is their pastoral care visitors come together once a month. They have a little bit of a Bible study, and then kind of support each other spiritually, and then they kind of give updates and reports on what's going on with homebound parishioners. And then they do a team approach to kind of support people that are in the faith communities. But we'd be delighted to chat with you more about that. We also got some generous foundation funding this year, so the only cost for that program is $50, which basically covers the cost of an application fee. And it used to be about $325. So this is a great year if you're interested to do it. Great questions.
First, I want to thank you for the opportunity. I was one of the 4 that went to pack the backpacks. There's Tom the Watleys and Julie Wahoot and I were there packing the backpacks with Chaplain Michael, and it was just a wonderful opportunity, and we learned so much about Stroger and the work that Chaplain Michael is doing and trying to do under very adverse conditions. So if anybody's interested, we've, as a church, funded it. If you have any questions about that, we'd be happy, Tom or I would be happy to answer them. But I was also wondering, in the vein that Julie was talking about, I know you can't reduce an entire course to 1 or 2 things, but are there 1 or 2 things that you would say to anybody who has started going out and taking communion to people who are homebound? 1 or 2 things that we should really keep in mind?
No, that's a great question. I think it's tricky when you have a relationship with someone and then you're coming in like as a spiritual care visitor. So like it might be someone who you sat in the pew with for 30 years, who all of a sudden you're taking communion to. So you're shifting a role. And I think the hardest thing is how to move it from a friendly visit of someone you've known for years and years and years to a spiritual care visit. So for example, like if I go see a patient, you know, one of the things out of their mouth is typically the awful Midwestern winters or the Cubs and how the Cubs are doing. I'm sorry if I have any Sox fans. The Sox don't come up too much in my visits. So those are like things that, you know, are up here that, yeah, we can talk about that, but that's really not why I'm coming to see you as a hospital chaplain. So I might talk a little bit maybe about the awful Midwestern winters, or I might talk a little bit about the Cubs. But then eventually I'm going to get the visit into a spiritual care space. So I might look at the person I'm seeing and I might say something like, how is your hospitalization going? Or how are you doing today? I want to move them into the here and now, not the past, not the future, not something outside what we're there to do, and just explore how they're doing. And it's surprising sometimes when you ask that question, how are you doing today, right here, right now? So that's a great question to always lead into, and you never know what it will kind of produce. I would say the other thing is lots of open-ended questions. You know, a lot of people who you're taking communion out to as a limb probably don't get a lot of visitors. So, you know, set a time boundary as well. You want to take care of yourself, so maybe you want to say, you know, I can come and visit you for 30 minutes or 45 minutes, but be true to your word and really leave at that point, because otherwise it's going to pull you down. And I think that's one of the hardest things for people who are starting to do spiritual care or chaplaincy, is to learn that we have to take care of ourselves too. And so it's important to set those visits. And there's so much research out there that says a 20 to 30 minute spiritual care visit is the most productive. There's something about that zone of a visit. If you are in a person's room or in their home for 45 minutes or more, you lose your role, because you lose spiritual things to talk about. So then you will start talking about the weather or something else. So those would probably be the 2 simple things I could offer. Anybody else? Dun, 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 dun. I promise I'm not going to dance for you. It's not pretty. Go for it.
You talked about training locally. Does the House do any training for pastoral care across the country, state of Illinois, the region? Do you get students and activity involved beyond our little diocese?
Great question, and it feels like you've been listening into our board meetings. That's what's next. I really think that we have developed a really solid program with our spiritual care training program. And so in 2021, when things were just starting to open up, we actually did the trainings on Zoom. So what you'd have to come to our office for, we did on Zoom. We had two students who were from Wisconsin. So too far to drive, probably about 4 or 5 hours away. And I think they learned at the same quality. So our board's really exploring that. One of the things we've talked about, there's an organization, it used to be called the Consortium of Endowed Episcopal Parishes, now it's called something else, I can't remember the name of it. But anyways, it's a great organization that we'll probably be chatting with about how can we partner in terms of getting the word out about this program to go beyond just the Chicago area. We did, it was before I got to Bishop Anderson House, we formed a nice partnership with the Chicago Synod of the Lutheran Church in America. So we have had some great relationships with them. You know, some churches that aren't as structured, and what I mean by that is churches that don't have a hierarchy like a bishop, it's harder to know how to get them. So Presbyterians, UCC, it's harder to get the word out about things. But yes, we eventually do want to grow to other denominations, and we definitely want to also grow outside the Chicago area.
Would you comment a moment about your relationship with Episcopal Charities?
You bet. I can't tell you everything. What I do know is I don't think we're one of the first, but we are a legacy agency. So what that means is they've been funding our work probably since the 1960s. Yeah, but we weren't one of the originals. Do you remember Father George Monroe? Yeah, so George Monroe actually, when he left Episcopal Charities, he came to Bishop Anderson House and was with us in the 1990s. So I would say there's always been a nice, kind of partnership in different ways between Bishop Anderson House and Episcopal Charities. And they are one of our biggest contributors. The number one contributor we have is Rush, because if we had to rent our office space and pay utilities and things like that, it'd be well over $100,000. So they're our biggest partner. And then we have some private foundations that are number 2, but Episcopal Charities would be in the top 5 in terms of funding our work and our ministry. Did that get at what you were looking for? Trenton, yes, he's lovely. He's about to turn 85. I'm trying to get up there for his birthday. He now lives in Delavan, Wisconsin, so he's amazing. Yeah. So, and that's how we're 75 years old. We've had great leadership and great board members. And I was just talking, you all haven't had that many rectors. So you are a really good, solid place. And it's the same for Bishop Anderson House. I'm just the 5th executive director in 75 years. So I think that speaks a lot to its stability. Any other questions? Yeah.
You told us a little bit about it, but how about look at the overall financial situation, and tell us about the staffing levels, how many you have and what they do.
Yeah. Can you tell he used to be the treasurer? Great question. So it's on our website. I'll say that first and foremost. So anything I get wrong today, feel free to go to our website and correct me on. So if you go to bishopandersonhouse.org, there's a section that says reports. And after any meeting of the executive committee or the board as a whole that approves financially, it goes up on our website immediately. So our budget is somewhere around $635,000. We do try to produce a balanced budget every year, but that was not possible this year. So we have a deficit budget of about $11,000, which, considering I didn't think was too bad. And there's lots of variables in our budget. Foundations are strange things. We have a couple of foundations that fund us, and it's just kind of a bank board where really we don't have a way to engage. So you kind of just give them what they're looking for, ask for, but you don't have a way to have kind of a personal relationship. So in terms of staffing, we have 3 full-time staff. So I'm full-time. Michael Smith, who I shared, is our chaplain at Sturgeon. He's also our associate executive director, is full-time. And then Ebony Only, our community chaplain, is full-time. Kim Lessner is our registrar for the spiritual care training program, and she's our associate for administration. So she's the one that's really good at numbers. I wish I had her with me. She could answer better than I could. And then Deacon Rose Cicero is 10 hours a week. So everything else we do, we hire contract staff because our needs kind of fluctuate seasonally, but that's really the core of who we are, the 3 full-time staff and the 2 part-time. Anything else? Other questions? Y'all are a good group. You're keeping me awake.
So other than the backpacks, which we did, are there any other hands-on ways that our parish could help?
That's a great question. There are little projects here and there. So like, for example, we just got 600 teddy bears in from the Build-A-Bear Foundation. So if someone or a group from your church wanted to come out for a couple hours and help us tag them, so what we do is we put a little tag on them that has a prayer and that says given by Bishop Anderson House. That would be something easy. But yeah, that's probably the clearest thing. It's unfortunate. HIPAA has lots of pros and cons to it, the Health Insurance Portability Act, which I'm sure by this point everyone's heard of. So, you know, back in the day, what you used to be able to do as a clergy person is go in and say, hi, hey, I'm from the Lutheran church down the road. Can you give me a list of all the Lutherans in the hospital? Hospital would be happy to give that to you, and then you could go and do visitation. Not anymore. So patient privacy is to the level we can't have volunteers in the hospital in the ways that we used to be able to. So like in the 1990s and even early 2000s, we had some volunteers who could go in and support patients and families. But with HIPAA and patient privacy and some things like that, we can't anymore. So usually it's typically smaller projects that people can help out with. Great question.
On the Teddy Bears project, many, many years ago, actually, we had parishioners who provided teddy bears. Is it now institutionalized for protection again?
Both and. So Build-A-Bear was very generous in giving us these 600 teddy bears. This is our second time to get them from them. But yeah, churches have teddy bear drives. Trinity Episcopal Church out in Wheaton every spring has like a tea, and one year they brought in like 500 teddy bears. So no, it is not limited. So if you all want that, we're happy to give you some criteria. There's certain things we have to pay attention to, like you don't want teddy bears that are a choking hazard for younger kids. And it's really great if you can have gender neutral, is that the right word? Yes, neutral. Because again, sometimes you never know if it's going to go to a boy or a girl, and they get picky, believe it or not. Anyone have kids and seen that? Yeah. So like the light brown kind of teddy bears, things like that seem to go probably better than others. Anything else? Well, if you think of more questions, I'm going to give you some stuff here that you can take with you. My contact information is on this, and you're welcome to call our office. Or I'm back in 2 weeks. So, you can try to stump me then. We won't have an adult forum like this, but you can always, yell out during my sermon, hey, what did you say about, we can have a little talk back. That sounds fun, doesn't it? You're all like, no. But no, thank you seriously once again for the Loaves and Fishes grant, and you all have just been great. I have visited a ton of churches over the diocese in my 8 years of being here, and you all really have extended a lot of great hospitality today, and I just appreciate Marilyn, your senior warden. She greeted me right as soon as I got here, showed me where things were. You wouldn't believe how many churches I go to that does not happen. So I really appreciate the hospitality you all showed today, and I'm looking forward to being back with you in 2 weeks. And I'm going to give you some goodies to take with you on your way out. That way you paid attention to me. I noticed. I was very grateful.
Everyone, Julie just turned to me and said, don't you want to do teddy bears? So Julie, we'll organize something for teddy bear tagging. So if you're interested in teddy bear tagging, let us know. Can we help with the teddy bear tagging?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, we'll see if we can organize something.